houseplanters, welcome back to Millennial Planter. I'm Marina, and today we are talking about the plant that started it all for me. One of the most underrated houseplants out there, and this is a video I've wanted to do for a while now. And it is the Dieffenbachia, aka mother-in-law's tongue, aka most commonly known as the dumb cane. As you can see, I have the Dieffenbachia. I think this is the Seguin. I think that's how it's pronounced, which is kind of like the OG, like what you find out in nature a lot, and a lot of the hybrids that are out there now are based kind of around this one. And then back here I have my camouflage, which I love, but we will talk about him in a little bit. When it comes to my care guide videos, I really like to talk about their background and where they originally come from, and just share any interesting facts I find amongst my research. The main reason why I wanted to do Dieffenbachia is because they are known as a relatively easy houseplant, but I've known a lot of people that have killed Dieffenbachia, so I just would like to share some of my tidbits and what's helped me. So they are from Central and South America. They do grow in a couple of Caribbean islands and a lot of tropical places. Like I know you can find them in Florida and Puerto Rico. So that's pretty cool. And that really gives you an idea of what their watering and humidity type needs are. And let me just share this warning with you. These guys are toxic. I didn't know this when I first started my houseplant journey. This was my first houseplant pretty much ever, and my cat would nibble on them. But they get their name dumb cane because they have oxalized crystals in their leaves, and when it's crushed up or chewed on, they can irritate the tongue, the vocal box, your lips, your gums. So it's not fun. It's really irritating. It burns a lot. The good thing is that as long as your airways are opened and they don't close up and swell, you will survive. It'll be okay. It'll just be really uncomfortable. I mean, you'll have a great time. And for cats and dogs, be really careful because it can lead to some kidney failure and death, and that's just going on how much they eat, really, how much of it they eat. My cat would nibble on the edges, and I would notice that her mouth would freeze up. She was okay. Nothing serious ever happened to her, thankfully, and now she doesn't chew on it, and I put it in a better place so she doesn't chew on it. So just be wary and keep any humans or any beings, anything with a heartbeat that likes to nibble on houseplants, just keep them away. These guys are in the aroid family, and they are, like I said, great beginner houseplants. What I like about them the most is that they're very vocal. Not so much in like a Fittonia way where they completely wilt when they're thirsty, but if they're unhappy, they will start dropping lower leaves, and it gives you some time to troubleshoot what's wrong with them before they completely die off, which is really great and really amazing. And one of the reasons why I definitely would recommend them to beginners. Some popular varieties out there would be Tropic Snow, the Seguin, the Camouflage. The Camouflage has been popping up in a lot of Home Depots this past summer. The Reflector, which is kind of like a more uncommon one, but I feel like the Dieffenbachia Reflector really brought these guys back out into the limelight. And the Camille and the Tiki, which are also two of my favorites. I wish I could have them all, but these guys get really big, and I just don't know if I have the space, but I don't know. Come summertime, I might have 4 of them. We'll see. And another little fun fact about these guys, right before we get into the care, is that there was a director, Heinrich Schott. I don't know how to pronounce it. He was a director of the botanical gardens in Vienna, and he actually named the Dieffenbachia after his gardener, Joseph Dieffenbach. Couldn't really find more information on that, and I wish I could have, because I want to know why he liked this gardener so much. If you happen to know, let me know, because I couldn't find it. But that was just really fun. I really like knowing how plants get their names. When it comes to light, these guys are known to be able to handle lower light situations. And from what I've noticed, just depends on the variety really, because my camouflage, he is definitely a highlight plant. He's even dropped a few leaves since being in my care, and that's because he's not getting the bright light that he wants, even though he's right by a window. So what I started to do is I just started to put my grow light right on top of him, and that seems to help him a lot. This guy, however, he's been doing really great. Even if he's receiving really low light, he's still putting out a lot of new growth. Honestly, this guy just knows growth. He doesn't know how to slow down. And also, if you want to get those big jungle vibe leaves, definitely expose them to brighter light and the leaves will get significantly better. And depending on the variety you have will also most likely change their patterns. This guy gets really white in the middle when he has a different variegation. It's pretty cool, and it's something that I'm definitely working on. And one thing is these guys really grow towards the light. As you could see, this side is bare and this side is really full. But if I were to turn the bare side over to the light, all those leaves will slowly transition to the other side. So just remember to rotate your plant so one, it stays even, because these guys really get top heavy, so you want to rotate it so it stays a little even and just stays in the pot better, and so your plant's just not super lopsided, because I mean this is a look. Onto watering. I've heard a lot of people say to let them dry out completely, but honestly I found out that they don't like to dry out at all. So I will let them get 75 to 50% dry before I water them. So that's pretty much in that realm of they like to stay moist but not wet. So I don't ever let them dry out completely, but if you do happen to forget or miss a watering, they'll be fine. They may wilt a little, they'll probably throw out some yellow leaves, but just water them and they'll recover okay. I let this one dry out a little too much and it gave me yellowing leaves for 2 weeks, but that's just because their yellowing leaves kind of take a while before they completely come off, and I just like to wait for the leaf to completely die off before I take it off so I could just pluck it out. And another thing is when you are dealing with these guys and propagating them and taking leaves off, I do highly recommend wearing gloves because they can cause skin irritation. Humidity, I feel like, is where people go wrong. So like we talked about, they are tropical plants. And the good thing about them is they don't require high humidities. They're not calatheas, but they do want to stay above 40%. I would say 30% is pushing it, but like 40% will be good. If they're in super dry climates, so if you have like a really insulated house or if you live in a really dry climate, you're going to want to provide some extra humidity for them, just because they do need some. They don't require a lot, but they need a little bit. But I notice a lot of times the humidity mixed with incorrect watering can really be that factor in how this plant lives or if it ends up dying. Next is temperature, and just like your regular tropical foliage plants, they don't like getting any cold air. So you want to keep it between 62 and 80 degrees. Anything below 55 and these guys will start dropping leaves. So just keep them away from cold winter drafts. When it comes to fertilizing, you can use a mix of 3-1-2 or fish emulsion type 1. I know mine really like newt, so nothing really too fancy in this area. But like all plants, they really thrive and really like those nutrients from the fertilizer. I do fertilize them pretty much all year around, at least this past year, because like I said, they've been growing like crazy, especially this one that is easily putting out 4 leaves every 1 to 2 weeks, and this one has been unfurling a leaf and then popping out a new one, so I haven't stopped fertilizing them yet. As far as propagation goes, it's a little bit different than your regular plant. So with this one, as you can see here, it has lots of babies. So you can easily, and probably what I'm going to do when I repot it is take some of these out. It's definitely getting a little crazy up in there, and it's even recently sprouted out a new one too. You can also cut off one of these shoots here where it has probably about 3 or 4 leaves and stick it in water and it'll propagate like that. They don't really have nodes like you could see in other plants. And also another cool thing, if your Dieffenbachia happens to get really leggy and lost a lot of its leaves, you could just take the rest of the leaves off, cut the stem in half, and put it in soil, and it'll propagate off of the stem, which is really cool and something I want to try one day when I'm brave enough to cut off the leaves on one of these stalks. As far as pest goes, I haven't experienced any. Yet, but I know they can get mealybugs and spider mites, so that's something you want to keep an eye out for. Something that really helps me is just taking it into the shower when it comes watering time and just really spraying down the leaves, giving them a nice soak, trying to get some pressure on the backs of the leaves to knock off any dust or just anything that can accumulate there, and I feel like that's helped me out a lot. So that wraps it up on the care of these beautiful plants. I know a lot of people see Dieffenbachia and think of grandmothers or like boring doctor places, but they are really beautiful. There are so many different varieties out there for all different kind of foliage lovers. I really think you could find one that you like and love. With those simple care tricks that I have, yours will really thrive and will just double its size in a year easily. So just remember to never let it completely dry out, and if you do, don't let it dry out for too long. Keep the temperature anywhere from 60 to 80 degrees. Keep it away from cold drafts. Keep the humidity above 40%. Like I said, these guys don't need high humidity, but they do need a little bit of humidity. When it comes to light, just keep in mind on the variety that you have. Some of them require higher light, but a lot of them do well in lower light situations. And remember to rotate it so you don't have a lopsided plant. And fertilize and repot as necessary. I hope you all have enjoyed this video and have found it useful. At the end of the day, just take all of my advice with a grain of salt, because I'm sure I'm not in the same growing zone as you, and this is what worked for me. Everything is trial and error, and if you have any care tips that I didn't share, let me know in the comments down below. We could all share our knowledge and help each other out. All right, bye guys.